Hello, people. It's been a while since I've talked about the voice of our generation, the man leading the revolution against the oppressors, Hassan Abi. How does he do this?
Okay, this is a stupid question. Okay, you can preface it with that. Does he know what One Piece is?
أكيد يعني منذ الطفولة وأنا أشاهد ون بيس لوفي.
Is it
Um,
Luffy?
yeah, he said he's been watching it since he was a kid.
No way!
Yeah.
That's sick. Yes, that's fire. That's so fire. Oh my god.
Yo, is this person fucking
Anyway, I saw this clip on Twitter. He's on this podcast called Crooked. I don't want to keep talking about this guy, honestly. Like, I don't want to be the channel that's just like, Hassan said what? Because it's what I used to do with Dream. But I think with this stuff, I think he portrays ideas that I just strongly disagree with in a lot of ways. And he has this huge platform. And it's like I can use his name to have a excuse to talk about the stuff he says and, you know, give my own thoughts. He made this clip with the caption, "I'm glad Hassan the Hun is sounding the alarm about the right wing's total dominance over the young male demographic. If you're a dude under 30, you see it in your group chats, social feeds every day. So far, the progressive establishment has failed to invest in creative solutions to compete." Okay, so basically there's this sentiment that I've heard where the left-wing side of politics, or the progressive people, have basically failed to connect with young men, young white men more specifically. They've sort of invested all their capital and resources into reaching out and building bridges with minority groups, the LGBT community, that sort of thing, right? And in the process, they sort of have left this vacancy for right-wing people and ideas of a certain type to reach young men, young white guys, right? But not only that, it's also the fact that a lot of the times people in progressive spaces do oftentimes attack white men or just men in general. And there's a certain diction, a certain way of talking, and there's sort of these phrases and, you know, clouds of ideas they pull from that in general sort of are against a lot of what, you know, young guys are into, like edginess or jokes or shit talking, you know?
Hey, Aiden, why do black people stink? So blind people can hate them too.
And so I think a lot of young guys that have no political disposition are finding themselves to end up center-right or right-wing because of this whole thing where the opposing side of things is basically instructing them to walk around on eggshells in a lot of ways. And when you have the freedom to choose how you behave and what you are interested in, they're going to choose the thing that is less against them, obviously. They're going to act in self-interest, right? Anyway, let's see what Hassan has to say here.
There is a massive amount of right-wing radicalization that has been occurring, especially in younger male spaces. Everything is completely dominated by right-wing politics. If you're a dude under the age of 30 and you have any hobbies whatsoever, whether it's playing video games, whether it's working out, whether it's, I don't know, listening to like a history podcast or whatever, every single facet of that is just completely dominated by center-right to, I wouldn't say far right in the same way that it was back in like the 2016 era. And
I'm just going to cut him off real quick because I want to highlight something, right? I think people and their personal politics are very reactionary. I think people are sort of primal in the sense that like something will happen and they come up with new ideas on the fly. They change their previously held beliefs and they sort of adapt, right? That's why like after, let's say, a police incident happens, people will become very anti-police in the way that they weren't before. They become very aware of something that's happened because of a news headline, there's national outrage, they adapt, right? And I think that same exact phenomenon is taking place with young men where they are sort of in school or were on social media for a certain period of time and they're being told or instructed to behave a certain way and they're given these parameters in terms of what they're allowed to talk about, what they're allowed to think, especially joke about. And now that there's a big enough platform for ideas that oppose that thinking and they're gaining popularity at a pretty fast rate or pace, it makes a lot of sense why they would just go with that, right? I'm more so talking about social politics. I'm not really getting into like nitty-gritty policy stuff like climate change or immigration.
Brexit means Brexit.
How the people around you behave, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And it's very clear that these like right-wing free speech ideas are resonating with this group of young men that feel like they've been suppressed for a bit. That's why you have like Rumble and Kick blowing up and these Aiden Ross streamers are having like controversial guests on and they're just saying whatever they want to clip farm. And I think another thing in general is that like it is only the attempt of the right wing or right wing like people to actively make an effort to reach out to young men or young white men, right? Like, a lot of the times you'll see these identity politics sort of bumper stickers for people and, like, their candidate. Like, labor unions for Kamala Harris, or, like, gays for Trump, or something like that. And a lot of the times, it's like a minority group or something like that. And so, not that that's a bad thing per se, but the natural neglect that comes as a result for a group like, you know, young men or young white men is going to create this void that is going to be filled by like an Andrew Tate type of person who's going to tell you, like, be a man, go to the gym, get your fucking money, have 10 wives, and be a piece of shit. And now I definitely think that there's a benefit to certain influencers that target the young male demographic to get their points across, right? Because that can, you know, inspire genuine growth, like the self-improvement stuff, and even like a little bit maybe of the looks maxing community, because you have things like hygiene that are being incentivized. And so I don't think it's all negative. But anyway, I'm just going to continue on with the clip here.
I wouldn't say far right in the same way that it was back in like the 2016 era at the end of like Obama's administration, but like definitely center right to Trumpian right, like openly Trump right, not like genuinely neo-Nazi. That part is quieted down a little bit, but like they're like 90% of the way there for the most part. And that's it. Everything that they see is right-wing sentiment being expressed by individuals that they find charismatic, thought leaders, influencers that they subscribe to. And I think that that is some of the reason why you see this movement.
All right, so that's the end of the clip. And the issue, the biggest issue is that, you know, these people will point out this problem they see, which is, as you described, young men resonating with right-wing podcasters or stuff like that, right? Maybe Joe Rogan, whatever. There's various figures you could name. But the real issue is that they sort of complain about this. They have this qualm with, you know, what they've noticed, but there's no real solution being proposed here. Like, there's no actual counter to this. And people like to throw around this term, the marketplace of ideas, when describing, you know, political stuff, but they don't actually think about how it maybe applies in a circumstance like this, where you have ideas being sold, if you want to do the marketplace thing, to young men, and they're buying them, right? If you want to compete with that, you can't just shame them into it. You can't just be like, be on my team or you're a bad person, like you're a phobic or a racism or something like that. If you do not, you know, agree with my stance, you have to like actually offer them something in order to get them on their side. And I don't think they're willing to do that in a lot of cases. I don't think they're willing to compromise on some things, right? Like, I just don't see, you know, a certain subsect of progressives genuinely allowing like disapproved edginess in their communities, or guys who maybe their, you know, first priority is not trans issues or racism or stuff like that, like different social issues. Maybe they're progressive in other ways, like maybe they really care about the environment. They're very progressive about climate change. They're very progressive about guns, but they're sort of just not welcome in that community because, like I said, they're very strict with what they allow and what they don't allow, whereas you have people that are telling these young guys, no, actually, fuck all that, do what you want, and then they're just, like, getting more fans. It's sort of like a winning formula. So anyway, yeah, I think of all people, too, Hassan is so funny to be making this clip. Hassan will shit on anything that is even perceived to be remotely in the realm of being right-wing, which can end up with like ridiculous clips where he's shaming people that are not even right-wing, in some cases even on his side, because there's like, you know, one thing that was said that might be vaguely right-wing, which is totally counterproductive in my opinion.
America deserved 9/11, dude.
But yeah, shorter video today. Just wanted to give you this video, give my thoughts on this clip. If you guys like the shorter little videos like this where I kind of ramble, let me know. I could do more of these. I don't mind just doing my job here. But yeah, if you enjoyed, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. And I will see you guys all in the next one. Goodbye.